Hi guys, welcome to the FriYay Q&A. I'm going to start a little bit more of a serious tone for a reason, all right? So I wanted to read a passage from this amazing book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow by Francis Weller. It's a beautiful book about grief and its place in the work of our souls. Grief is, as I have said, a powerful form of soul activism. If we refuse or neglect the responsibility for drinking the tears of the world, her losses cease to be registered by the ones meant to be the receptors of that information. It is our job to feel these losses and to mourn them. It is our job to openly grieve for the disappearance of wetlands, the destruction of forests, the shrinking whale populations, the erosion of soil, and on and on. We know the litany of loss, but we have collectively neglected our emotional response to this emptying of our world. We need to see and participate in grief rituals in every part of this country. The work of grieving for the world translates into a fierce and undying devotion to the world. I hear regularly about indigenous tribes fighting to protect their lands from incursions and violations by corporate interests. Their activism reflects an intimate and pervasive bond between self and place that leads to an identification with the land. It is imperative that we, too, find our courage to protect what is being threatened. We must participate in the repair of the world. So, I wanted to start with that today because this work of truly grieving is a work of opening ourselves to feel. And as I've worked over the years with helping people connect with their inner guidance and the guides, their team of guides that congregate around them, the most important step is first to be able to feel. And that can become a block because to open to feeling, we open to all the feeling. And so if there is grief we have not allowed ourselves to fully feel and move through, it's going to be there, not as a block, but it will be there asking us to feel it like a body of water we have to move through. And so we're going to have a great conversation today with tips and tools and me sharing some of my experiences, you sharing some of yours about how to connect with guides and what it feels like, what it is like to work with your guides. But I wanted to start with that paragraph on grief and collective and communal grieving because it is so key, especially right now as we are sort of in this time of pause, which is giving a lot of people opportunity to do that deeper work of grieving. And not just grieving what's currently going on, but grieving all the things. You might be feeling things coming up from years ago that you didn't have the time or the resources and bandwidth to fully move through. So if that's been your experience of late, if you're feeling this heaviness, if you're feeling this almost inexplicable depth of feeling, it's there for you to move through, all right? And one of the beautiful things, and why I think it dropped in so clear, because I was on this morning being like, I'm not sure if I'm going to do my FriYay Q&A. I want to try and do at least one a month, maybe two a month. But I was kind of like, I'm not sure. And then as soon as I got off of Facebook, my guides, not just my guides, your guides, a whole bunch of guides dropped in. And they were like, hey, remind people. I know we've already talked about this. I know we talk about this all the time. But we want you to do the FriYay Q&A on helping people connect with us. Hi, Sagrira, I love you. Hello to everyone joining me today. So if y'all are having specific questions about connecting with your guides, please feel free to post them. Please feel free to share your own stories and experiences because it's so helpful. I know for me on my own journey of learning to trust my connection with my guides, it was really helpful to hear other people's experiences because oftentimes those experiences would mirror things I myself had experienced even when I thought I was just making it up or it was weird. But our guides are really saying like, yes, you've got to move through this depth of feeling, this immense grief collectively, but you don't have to do it alone. Let us help you. Over and over again, that's the message. Anytime I work with a client, I often feel their guides drop in being like, hey, like, she's not really asking, like, we're here, but they're not calling, she's not calling on us. He's not reaching out, even when we know he's dreaming about us. We know he's feeling us. We know that they are communicating with us. Even for people who are actively attempting to communicate with their guides, a lot of people aren't making the space to receive and to actually establish what I call a mutual working partnership or working relationship with your guides. I call my guides my team. I don't have the same ones show up all the time. I have some guides that are kind of like always with me, but most of my team of guides, I call them contract workers, and they come and they go. And the ones that I need show up when I need them. And I've learned to feel into the layers of subtle discernment so that I have a sense of who's who. Starting out, I didn't have that. I didn't know if I was just making it up, but I kept making myself available for a deeper listening, a deeper sensing. And I am someone that, especially starting in my 20s, felt really comfortable. My parents will probably say, like, my whole life I was very comfortable feeling my feelings. But really allowing myself to feel. The more I let myself feel, the easier it is to connect with my guides. Oh, Jill says, I call mine my divine team. That's beautiful. I just call mine my team, but a lot of them are definitely divine. I mean, ultimately, everything is. One thing I recommend if you really want to dive into working with guides and you like to have sort of like a handbook, it says Ask Your Guides book by Sonia Choquette. It's so good. I love this book. I've like bookmarked it. I might share some stuff from it, from this book with you today. But I started with The Wild Edge of Sorrow because that tends to be the biggest block I see when people are wanting to connect with their guides and even actively reaching out to connect, but they're not really feeling like they are connecting. They're not feeling their guides. They're not getting the messages that they thought they would get. And sometimes it's because they're actually, you're already getting the messages. You just don't understand that a lot of times it just feels like yourself, your own voice. A lot of guides will speak through your own higher self. And so that feels oftentimes to people like their own voice. And other times the way guides communicate can drop in through feelings and knowings. And so you might not recognize that it's coming from outside of you. I will post the books. Yes, I'll post the books in the comment section after this. Thank you. There's so many tools out there. There's guided meditations. There's a million different ways of opening to connect, but I just really want to stress that you've got to be able to feel. And so when there is a backlog of grief and upset that you haven't fully moved through, your guides can help you move through it. I would call them in, but also know that you're not going to feel them as strongly until you allow all the feeling. Does that make sense? And we're in this place right now where we're being asked to go deeper into some feelings we might not have been able to fully feel at the time. And so our guides are wanting to help us right now with this process of grieving, but also with establishing a longer term working relationship for all the stuff to come, right? For us to be able to really literally create a new world. So some of the things I have done in my life to build and strengthen and better trust my connection with my guides is I started by putting some ritual around it. So I always light a white candle. For me, that is like my way of saying to both my mind and to spirit, like, I am available for connection at this time. I'm making dedicated time and space to connect, and I'm inviting in the highest frequency of guides possible, right? Which I love how in Sonia Choket's book, Ask Your Guides, she literally says that. You have little did you know boxes. I love it for like quick nuggets of info. It says you have the right to ask only for the highest guides. And when you do, you're under no obligation to listen to any guidance that doesn't feel good for you or right. You can always dismiss any guidance that doesn't feel right. And I do always ask for the highest healing and good, the highest guidance to come forth, okay? And the more open you are to your guides and their help, the greater your life will be. This is very true. The main function of your guides is to offer help to you. I used to feel like I was like, oh no, like, do I even have the right to like light this candle and call you in? Because like, y'all are surely busy doing other more important things. And they were like, no, silly. Literally, we're like here for you. Like, we are here to help you. You have to let us in. You have to ask for the help you want and need. And then you have to be open to receiving it when we're bringing it your way. And I was like, oh, that sounds really easy. And then I realized that was not really easy, and I had to really work on all of those things. And so I worked on the asking and connecting by choosing to create dedicated time and space. So 2 to 3 times a week, I would literally get up in the middle of the night because I was like a new mom and that was the time I had. It doesn't have to be in the middle of the night. I would light my white candle. For me, I would light some Palo Santo because my sense of smell is probably my strongest sense. And so smelling the Palo Santo just helps me drop in to that place of like surrender and listening and feeling peaceful and grounded. And then I would take some deep breaths. I would imagine all of my chakras like clear and aligned so that I'm basically like this very clear antenna or channel. And then I always had the same journal. I would get this journal. I have one. This is my new one because I filled up so many. Get my journal. I would open it and I would write a question. Or if I didn't have a specific question, I would just say, hi, I would like to connect with one of my guides. Whoever wants to come through right now for the highest healing and good. And then I would just take some more breaths and wait until I felt this urge to write something. It can help at first to have some specific questions, and you can ask them anything. And one thing I'm always doing that I loved is I was refreshing myself in this book. I'm like, oh, Sonia does this too. This was how she learned to connect. She started meditating when she was 12, just like me. And meditation really helps. Having some kind of daily meditation, even if it's only 5 minutes, is really going to help you connect better with your guides. You need to make space, all right? You have to make the space to connect, especially before your connection is really robust, right? Nowadays, it's easy for me to like, oh, someone's dropping in, da-da-da-da. But that was like years coming. Like, it took me a lot of like making very quiet, dedicated space to have the ease and fluency I have now in working with my guides. That wasn't like from the get-go. So I would get my journal and I would sit there in the dark with my candle in the middle of the night and just let it flow. Just write stuff and go back and read it later. And they would tell me when I was writing, if I was trying to like read it while I was writing, they were like, stop, like, you know what you're writing. Because I would feel it. It wasn't like my hand was moving. Well, a couple times that happened. Usually it was not like my hand was moving and like words are just appearing. I would know what I was writing. It would feel like it was coming from myself, but it wasn't totally. And as I go through my old journals, like, you can see my handwriting change depending on the guides coming through. The cadence changes, the syntax changes, the word choice changes. Like, it's very clear to me when looking back. And when I share my journals with other people, it's pretty obvious that like there's different messages, different beings are coming through. because you are, a lot of people, you're gonna think you're kind of making it up. They communicate through the subtle realms. They come through us to communicate. And so you have to really be open to the possibility that you are just making it up, and then see what happens. That's what I had to do. I had to be willing to suspend my skepticism long enough to like just have the experience. And that's kind of like all they're really wanting from you. Like, just try. Just try to let us come through. Try to suspend your disbelief and your criticism and your like doubt just enough. Don't let go of it completely. It's not gonna go away completely. I'm still pretty skeptical of a lot of things, believe it or not. But like, I let it come through, and then let time and years of like doing this sort of prove to me that like, okay, I'm not crazy, and I'm not just making this up. And one of the things that Sonia mentions in her book that I've also like really experienced in my work with other people and how they connect with their guides. I didn't have as much of this problem personally, but sometimes I do. And this is really where my tarot cards and oracle cards can help. That is a way of connecting with your guides, okay? You can ask your guides to speak through your card deck. You know, if the writing doesn't feel comfortable for you, then like take something even more outside of yourself and say, okay, as I connect with this deck, and there's even spreads out there specifically for getting to know your guides. You can ask the cards, you can ask the guides to speak through the cards to tell you how best to connect with the guides, to give you insight into which guides are showing up for you right now. Okay, you can work with cards as well. But one thing Sonia mentioned in the book is that, like, do you just want us to agree with you, or do you actually want information? Do you actually want to hear what's true? Because our guides will speak to us about what we most need to hear. And a part of you is gonna know that it's true. Like, you should feel that. Like, if your guides are just saying like crazy shit, like, no, you need to like quit your job and dig a tunnel into the center of the earth, and that doesn't feel true for you, like, you probably aren't, like, there's something going on there, okay? But it's the truths we push back, where it's like, hey, you really need to end this relationship. This relationship is not serving you. This person is not going to change in the ways that you are hoping they will, and something needs to shift here. It's not in your highest good to continue connecting with this person. And a part of you might be like, well, I wanted to hear how I can fix this situation, right? I don't want to have the message that I'm leaving it. And so as you're opening to connect, and as messages and guidance do start coming through, you have to ask yourself, like, am I really open to being guided? Am I open? Am I open to the guidance that requires me to pivot and change my life? That has me hear things that are hard to hear, not what I was hoping for. Knowing that when you do honor the guidance, it really, even if it's difficult at first, every time I've honored that guidance, it has always moved me to a better place in my life. And that's another reason the guides are dropping in so strongly right now, because they know the uncertainty and the instability that we are collectively experiencing. And they're like, okay, but again, you're not in this alone, and we can help. We might not be able to give you completely solid ground, but we can help you make the choices and move in the directions that really will serve you in the long run. What should I do today with my time? Like, literally, I was like asking my guides 3 days ago, like, hey, how best can I spend the rest of this week? I'm feeling really tired. And they were like, so rest. I was like, okay, but like, I've got to help my kid with his schoolwork. Let him play. Okay, but like, next week is spring break, and like, really this week we should like do at least, it's not that much schoolwork anyways, and like, I've got clients and they like need me, and da-da-da-da-da, and they were like, rest. And so again, like, I say I don't do this, and I totally do it. See, I totally do it. I resist the guidance too when it's not what you want to hear. You have to kind of check yourself. You got to be like, Okay, and that same message will come up in like, I'll have a friend pull cards for me. I'll pull cards. I will journal. I will meditate and drop in and feel my guides. And one of the reasons I lead guided meditation groups is to help people connect, because a lot of times your guides will appear to you through the guided meditation journeys. Because again, we're creating that space. Okay, we're creating space to connect. And so guided meditation is another thing that can really help. So Greer says, rest has been big for me this week too. Yes, this is absolutely a week to rest. Things are happening within us and around us, and we need to allow ourselves time to integrate, process it, allow the shifts to happen, allow the grieving that I talked about in the beginning to happen, and being really gentle with ourselves. When I connect with my guides, I overwhelmingly feel so much love and support. They get excited sometimes. They'll be like, and usually when I'm helping a client connect with their guides, or when their guides are dropping in a session, there's usually this sense of deep reverence, appreciation, gratitude, excitement. They are so happy whenever you make even a little bit of time and space to connect, all right? Like, they are like, yes, because again, they're literally here to help you and work with you. We're the ones doing the hard stuff. Being here on earth in this like human body, like that's way harder than like almost every guide I've connected with. They're like, oh, we've got it easy. Like, wow, you really signed up for like the hard work. And it literally makes me like really emotional, because I feel how much they honor us for being here and still trying to connect while honoring our very human lives. It's not easy. What we're doing is not easy. And they can help it be easier. And they can nourish us when we're feeling depleted. And so I do this thing where I call like resting in my guides, in their love. And I'll usually, I do this a lot either in bed or in the bath, because I want to feel really held in the bath. Like I just feel like I'm back in the womb almost. And I connect and I just let them love on me. I just let myself soak up their love. Sometimes that's all you need to do. So don't always think that connecting with guides is about getting information, words, messages. It's not. A lot of the ways your guides want to connect and help you is by sending you direct energetic support and a whole lot of love and appreciation. Because it's easy to feel burnt out and depleted and kind of like, what's the point? Like, why am I here? They'll help you remember why. And even if there's not like a very clear why, it's like, well, here's what we can do. Like while you're there in that body, here's some things that might feel good. And so one way that strengthens a connection, if you've already opened to connect, or if you're wanting to open to connect and you want to have a strong connection, it is really important, in addition to meditating a little bit every day. I'm talking like literally, can you just meditate for 5 minutes? Even if you don't feel like you're meditating, just like sit down, be quiet, and breathe for 5 minutes each day will make a significant impact in your ability to connect with your guides. It really will. And then do something each day that you enjoy. Joy is when you are happy, when you're engaged in something that feels exciting or good for you, it helps them come in. It helps you be in a space where it's easier for you to open. So Greer, yes, I love just hanging out with my guides even when I don't have questions. Yeah, like literally as you build your relationship with your guides, so Greer knows this well because she is amazing at connecting. But they become like friends. Like it shifted from me being like, I'm so lowly and they're so up there and like, wow, like, are they gonna have time? Wow, did they send me a message to like, oh my gosh, like we're all in this together. And like sometimes we just want to hang out. Sometimes we just want to hang out and they'll love on me and I'll be like, oh, thanks y'all. You know? It's good. It's good. It really, like, do you see the range of emotions I've been through just in this video? And I saw my therapist yesterday via our virtual platform, telehealth platform. And I keep making, like, literally for 9 years, I've been asking this woman, like, you're sure I'm not crazy? You're sure I'm not making this up? You're sure, like, this is not just me being, like, delusional or, like, out of touch with reality in some kind of unhealthy way? And she's like, no, you don't strike me that way at all. But I need that. Like, that's something I literally need. I need that assurance from a highly trained and experienced mental health professional that what I am experiencing is okay. And my capacity to feel and move through all of the feelings that come in, it's literally a part of how I connect. Now, that is how I connect. Some people are more visual. They see things. Some people hear things. I connect best through feeling. And so I've had to explain this to people in my life, like my partners and stuff. They're like, oh, in the beginning, like I can be a little intense because like I will literally go from like laughing and experiencing such a joy and bliss to like sobbing at like something like, I don't know, an ant got squished or something, but I connect with things through feeling. So I feel the loss just as much as I feel the birthing. I feel the dying. And like, I just have a really big, rich spectrum of feeling. But that allows all of these different guides to come in because there's so many different types of guides. And if any of y'all have experience of connecting with different types of guides, please share. If you have questions about like, what is this? Because then you have your higher self or highest self, whatever you want to call it. Oh, Desi, you're such a beautiful full range of emotions. I love that about you. I am a very full range. Ni hao, Alonzo. Hi, I love you. I keep your power pole in my Reiki room at Seed to Star, just so you know. I'm always like, that's the power. I call it the power pole. I hope that's okay. Alonzo's an incredible artist, and I'm lucky to have this beautiful piece of art he created. That's like this bamboo pole. Anyways, it's my power pole. I need it. It helps. It brings in some kind of special energy in the corner of my Reiki room. So, sorry, they're like, got really quiet all of a sudden. Like, drop in deeper. Drop in deeper. I feel like they're wanting to speak to y'all, but like, also I was like, wait, I had things I wanted to share that felt important, but they're not. I also really surrender to my guides. That's easy for me now because I trust them. Because I built a relationship with my guides over the years. I know I can trust them. And so even when new guides are dropping in, oh, that's what they were saying, the subtlety of the feeling. Like it's rich, it's a full spectrum, but it's subtle. And so, especially at first, like now I can feel things pretty clearly and intensely, but it is still subtle. Like I'm just used to feeling the fine-tuned differences. So it's sort of like, I was explaining this to my friend the other day. It's like some people might have like a crayon box that has 16 crayons in it. And so there you might only have like 2 shades of blue. And if that's all you've ever seen or known or worked with, then like, when you feel something that's between those 2 shades of blue, it's kind of like you try to lump it into one hue or the other. Whereas like I just came in with like the 64 box of crayons, okay? And so I'm used to working with like 5 shades of blue. And so when this guide drops in, I can feel the difference between this guide and this guide, even if they're both like, it's a subtle shade of blue. So someone else might be like, oh, it's my blue guide. Like some guides literally like you'll connect with them as colors or smells or feeling, you know, but like, oh, it's the blue guide. But then like as the longer you connect, you might realize that this thing you thought was a blue guide, I don't know, they want me to do triangles, so we're doing it. This blue guide is actually made up of 3 guides, right? And those 3 guides are 3 different like hues of blue, but they might be like very subtly different from each other. So that's one thing you might notice as you connect. like you can actually increase your crayon box, okay? Like you will over time, and just please be patient with yourself. Just keep trying. Just keep trying to connect. If you want the name of a guide and you haven't gotten the name, keep asking. Like if you really want a name, they will give you a name. Some of them will just straight up tell me like, well, I don't have a name, or my name is it's like a sound, or like, you know, like something that we don't have here on Earth. Because you gotta go outside everything you know too, because you're connecting with beings from other dimensions, star systems, from past lives. Like guides can be such a wide variety of different types of beings, consciousnesses, energies. So you kind of got to get a feel of who you're connecting with, what you're connecting with. And then if you want a name, like a lot of times a guide, I've just stopped asking for names, because for me it's not that important, because I connect based on how I experience their energy. But if names help you, especially in the beginning, if it helps you to have a name, they will give you a name. But sometimes it might really surprise you, because it'll be like Randy. And you're like, but you're this crazy magical being energy I'm feeling. Like, really, are you sure? And like, if you're getting a name that you're kind of like, what? Are you sure that's your name? It could just be that they're just giving you a name because you really want a name, because they either don't have a name, or their name is not something you're going to be able to like say or even understand. So just really be open to what's happening. Oh, this is the best description. I'm glad, Desiree. Fascinating. This is what I would love to develop. Do it, Patty. Just literally just start asking for connection. If it helps have ritual, light a candle, get a journal, pull a card, do something tangible to help them come through in a way that you can like really concretely feel and know. It doesn't have to just be, we're just connecting energetically. Like you can bring the connection into some kind of form through using cards, through journaling, through going on a walk and seeing what shows up and what that means to you. If certain guides will make crazy, miraculous things show up in your life. Like uncanny, statistically improbable things will show up if you keep asking. If you ask for connection, if you ask for their guidance, if you ask for their support and intervention, they will find some very creative, breathtaking ways to communicate and connect with you. But you have to ask for it and then be open to it. And so when you're on the walk and something really crazy happens, like a purple feather floats down and lands right in front of you on the sidewalk, don't just be like, oh, that's just a coincidence. No, it's not just a coincidence. It's your guide sending a fucking purple feather out of the blue. Like, where did that come from? As a message. Well, not Randy. I know, not Randy. I think I have a little lag. Anyways, they will find very humorous. I have some guys that crack me up. Some of my clients' guides have cracked me up too. Like one of them shows up like this raunchy gay cowboy, like smacking a unicorn. And I'm like, wow, that's a guy. Okay, cool. I have seen so many different types of guides. I have felt so many different types of expressions, and some have reduced me to tears of just like, wow, I will never be the same. And I keep having these experiences that are so like truly life-changing and amazing. And I'm still human, and I will still, like, in spite of all the experiences of incredible connection I've had and that I've witnessed my clients have, I can still get stuck in my own shit just as easily as the rest of you. Like, believe me, I can. And then Mark will say something that really angers me. He's like, well, what would you recommend a client does right now? I'm like, don't talk to me like that. But it's true. Because the shit I do with my clients fucking works, and I need to do it too. I need to keep doing it. I have to keep showing. If you don't keep opening the door to your guides and say, hey, let me get out of my own shit here and make space for you. Things got real shitty and wonky and mucked, and I don't like this. And I am pissed right now, and I'm just exhausted right now. And they're like, well, the last time you connected with us was about 17 days ago. I'm like, oh, right. If you keep connecting, they keep coming in, and it doesn't mean your life is going to be magical and blissful every moment. It won't. You're still going to go through shit. But they can help you go through it. They can sit with you in the shit and be like, yeah, that really stinks. Sorry about that. Okay. And sometimes the guidance is you gotta just sit there and smell it for a little bit. What are you feeling with that shit all over you? And then they'll help hose you down. They really will. Man, that's so real. I'm thankful you remind me to listen to my own advice, though I'm like, boo, I don't want to hear that shit. I'll fix it. Yeah, your guides are not just going to fix things for you. I gotta put my crown on right now. Because another thing you need if you want to connect with your guides is a crystal crown. I'm just kidding. You do not need a crystal crown. I connected with guides for years before I got my crystal tiara from my friend. But it does kind of help. So if you really are someone that I don't really have a hard time opening my crown chakra, so sometimes this gets to be a bit much for me. But it looks cool, right? Crystals help. That's another way you can help strengthen or bring in a connection with your guides. You can even have certain stones that you either designate as a way of every time I hold this stone, it will call in the energy of this particular guide. That's an option you can do. So you can have certain stones that are connected specifically or used as a literal, I call it a touchstone for a guide. Having quartz around always helps amplify. Crystals are beautiful ways of creating space. You can build a particular crystal grid for connecting, for helping you open to connect. And I would recommend you just use the stones that you're drawn to, because there's a reason the stones you're drawn to are the ones you're drawn to. Or just the stones you have. Even if it's like rocks from your backyard or the river, it doesn't have to be like fancy crystals, okay? Doesn't have to be like super fancy. Ooh, this one's so potent. I love it. But you don't have to. Things will show up. Like the way this stone even came into my life is like pretty cool. It's a pretty cool story. Most of the tools I have came to me in pretty magical ways. And so your guides will guide you to the tools that help you connect with them. All right? This was a gift. Like so many of the things I am blessed to have for the work I do were given to me. Or they showed up and it was like an incredible discount. Like literally this stone should have been like $80 something. And I walked up to the table and the guy was like, is it raining outside? And I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, if it's raining outside, this stone is like 44% off. And I was like, wait, 44 is one of that's a number. That's a sign. My guides are like saying, hey, get this stone. We just made it in your budget. I was like, okay. Whew, sorry, I'm really feeling this, so I'm gonna hold it right now. Certain stones themselves can be guides. If you connect with a stone and its energy, that's why I was like, why do I keep holding this? This stone itself is a guide. This is the stone that is dedicated to my priestess group right now. I have it every time we meet. It can also be downloaded with information, so all the work my priestess group does gets downloaded into this stone. But the stone itself is a guide, and it is guiding the work I am doing with my group of priestesses this year. So it's an icosahedron, in case anyone's wondering about the shape. Geometry, numbers, songs, these are all different ways our guides can communicate. Stones themselves can be guides. Trees, plants, animals. There are guides all around. So don't think a guide has to come through a certain way or look a certain way or feel a certain way, because if you can just be open to whatever you need, it's going to show up. But it's going to show up with a diversity of expression and ways of communicating, and it'll be a really interesting journey. So be open to it. Be an adventurer. Be an explorer. Stay really open to how guides want you to connect. Some guides will only come through for me when I'm in the bath or shower. I have to be in water, and then they come through. There's the angels, the archangels. There's deceased loved ones. There's guides that are no longer in a body, but y'all had a past life or another life together. Those can feel really strong. So sometimes it's easiest to start out, first connect with your own spirit, your highest self, and call that in first. I just want to connect with my higher self right now. Feel that. And I have guided meditations I've recorded to help you connect with your higher self. If you're interested, reach out. And then once you've connected with your higher self, because a lot of times my higher self acts as an intermediary or an interpreter between me and other guides. Then you could connect with a guide that has had a human incarnation, especially if they've had a human incarnation with you, because you already have this deep bond established. The more the bond is there, the more there's this sense of deep love and connection, the easier it is to connect. So start with guides that are easier to connect with. Again, your higher self, it is you, so that's like the easiest for me personally. Then a guide that you have incarnated with, and you can get some cool information about what that experience was like and why they're still with you and what work you're here to do together now. You can connect with ancestors, loved ones. My friend Lama Rod Owens, please follow him. He posted this beautiful guidance and meditation yesterday on his Instagram TV that is helping you connect with your ancestors through your 7th chakra, but also knowing how to work through if there is trauma in the ancestral line. 'Cause, I mean, almost everyone has trauma, and some people have a lot more than others. And so knowing these things, there's so many resources. But definitely check out Lama Rod Owens for tools on that. There's, again, different types of guides. So many different types are available, and sometimes it can help if you're not used to connecting to start with guides you actually have a bond with, a unique bond, like because they're your ancestor, because you had an incarnation with them, because it is your own highest self. Angels and archangels are another type of guide that's really easy to connect with. They're really just here to help us and to love us. And so you can call on the angels and the archangels anytime. Like, they want you to call on them. They can be 50,000 places at once. And they want to help. They want to connect. Archangels are going to feel really big. Their energy is intense. You might have physical things happening in your body when you connect with bigger energies. The same is true for other, like, star beings, I call them. Really high frequency beings might come through with some physical, like your face might twitch. Don't be scared. Sometimes a lot of people, when a bigger energy guide is coming through, your body will move through what feels like anxiety. A part of it is because a part of you probably is a little nervous. Your ego and your human self can sense, like, I can't see what's happening, but like something big is about to happen. And you can feel that, right? We are animals, and we have the capacity to sense subtle energy and energetic differences. And so your system will feel when a big energy is coming in. And it can react. A part of it will be nerves, especially when you're new to it. I have learned, though, that now when my heart starts racing and my hands get a little clammy, I'm not nervous anymore if I know I'm connecting, because I know that this is normal, that my physical density is experiencing connection with a much higher frequency of energy. And it's just responding to that energetic difference, if that makes sense. And so just breathe through it. If you know you've set your energetic boundaries and you have invited in connection with a high guide, know that you might feel some things in your body that are really surprisingly strong. It can be an incredibly physical and visceral experience, as well as intensely emotional. I've had many times people come to meditation group, especially when they're new to it, and be a little embarrassed and also very shocked by how strong of an emotional response they've had to the work. And it's because even if they aren't conscious of it, their guides are dropping in. And they're creating space to move through, like I mentioned in the beginning, that wall of feeling that's just been kind of like a body of feeling that's been there. And to tap into all the grief that's there with this immense love holding you and surrounding you is an incredibly deeply emotional experience. A lot of loved ones come through for people when they come to our meditation groups. And again, because these loved ones are also serving as guides for that person. And we set the intention every meditation group that those beings who are here for the highest healing and good are welcome in this space. That is an invitation I extend every time I do work with someone. And for myself as well, of course. And that's partly why my relationship with my guides is so strong, because I'm constantly inviting them in. Constantly, and giving them permission and a welcoming, like, opening to interact, to be, to love on me, to hold space for me. But when people aren't used to that and they come into that experience and into that space, it can be very emotional. And so be prepared for that. Give yourself that time and space. I always have a box of tissues nearby. I already cried once just doing this video. And so allow that. I primarily communicate through feeling, so get ready to feel. Get ready to feel more than you ever have. If you want to have a very strong connection with your guides, it's going to involve a lot of feeling, a lot of emotion, a lot of physical sensation as well. Some guides come through with specific. A lot of times I get this clicking in my ear, almost like like someone sticks their finger in my ear and pulls it right back out. Oh, they're doing it. They're doing it right now just to be like, oh yeah, this. A lot of times it happens when I'm working with a client and there's a particular guide steps forward and wants to share a message. They want to make sure I'm getting it. So sometimes I'm got like 7 different beings in the space, and they do that as a way of like, I'm stepping forward now. Okay, change the channel. Now I'm stepping forward. And they'll go click, click, and they kind of, if I feel like almost like your ears pop on an airplane, I'm really feeling it right now. They'll leave it feeling like popped, or like the pressure part, they'll leave it feeling like it's clicked and like I'm on the airplane and the pressure is like building in my ear until I get the message right, until I've fully delivered what they were trying to communicate, or the love they're trying to like love on their person. Okay. And then once I've completed the message, or they've completed their energetic work, that it'll click again and the pressure releases. And I've learned over time not to be bothered or annoyed by that. That is a signal for me that a guide came in and then completed their work and left. And that's their way of just announcing, I'm stepping forward, I'm done now, or you're done now, you got the message. And so pay attention to that. I have some guides come through and it's a tickly or a shivery feeling. Sometimes it's a feeling in a particular part of your body. Sometimes you'll see a particular color, or almost like some guides come through and it's like everything in the room takes on a new hue, or a tone. I have so many stories. I'm trying to think of other ways. Sometimes it's a smell. You'll smell something really strong. A lot of times that happens with deceased loved one guides, but it's happened also with certain elemental guides, like connected to the earth. So fairies, elves, gnomes, plants themselves. When I connect with mushrooms, I feel like I'm being like tucked into the earth. Not buried, but I feel like when I connect with mushrooms as a guide, this is not me saying I'm tripping on mushrooms, which it's great if you want to do that, that's fine. That's not what I'm literally talking about. I connect with the spirit of mushrooms, and it feels like they kind of like tuck me into the earth and plug me into this like underground network. So as you connect with different guides, really pay attention to like, what am I feeling? What does this connection feel like? Less about what does this guide feel like. Actually shift your focus to what does it feel like for me when I am connecting with this guide. All right? That is actually a better key for learning your guides than putting so much of the focus on who are they? What do they feel like? What do they look like? What is their name? Again, these are all questions you can absolutely ask them. Just know that especially at first when you're new, the answers can be more subtle because their main priority is to help you and love on you. And your main priority is like, before you can help me and love on me, I have to know everything about who you are. No, first learn who they are as they connect with you and love on you. This is good. I gotta write this down. Will someone make a note of this? Because this is like the missing block. I realize the missing link that I haven't told people yet. It's more important to like open to the experience of the connection and then learn who your guides are over time. Just like think about when you get to know a person. Like literally imagine you're dating someone, right? You want to find out things about them. You're asking them questions. You're learning about them. But the most powerful connections, at least, and maybe this is just my own experience, the most powerful connections in my own life have started with a feeling. And a lot of my most powerful connections were formed in times I wasn't capable of giving as much. I had to receive. And the people who showed up and were able to love me in that space and support me in that space, and the connection was really formed. The bond was really formed in that giving and receiving of love. And then over the years, we learned more about each other. And so focus more on the connection that's possible because the guides, by and large, their energy is very powerful. And so they have a lot to offer that will make understanding who they are easier, but you have to be able to receive what they're offering. So focus on how can you help me? Not who are you? Tell me everything. Where do you come from? Why are you my guide? Like, of course we want to know these things. We're curious, skeptical people, right? Our minds get busy and they're fascinated and they want to know. You'll learn in time. Don't make that a prerequisite of working with your guide. Work with your guide and get to know them. Don't feel like I have to get to know this guide. Always set your energetic boundaries. I'm calling in the guides that are here for my highest healing and good. Always do that. But once they come in, let them come in and work with you, all right? Pamela says, be open to the connection. Yes, oh, thank you. Thank you very much for writing that down for me. Yes. So that can be a barrier, right? The first barrier is when the guides connect, they're usually moving through this pool of unfelt feelings that we have. So we have to feel through all the like stuff we've kind of like been like, not really gonna feel all that. And then we create a barrier by being like, well, who is this guide? And like, I need to know everything about you before I can feel like we're connecting. Whereas the guides are like, no, like we're already connecting. Like we're connecting, but like it's hard. And a lot of guides, it's harder for them to answer our questions because 2/3, 3/4 of the guides that are available to really support you and help you in your life, it is not easy to answer these questions about where they come from and who they are because our human minds cannot conceptualize who these beings are. All right? It would be, they have to undo so much of what we think we know about the world, about space, about dimensions, about, like, I have spent years being given little blips of like binary codes, sacred geometry, portal, like weird fucking shit comes in because they're trying, they want to answer my questions, but then they keep reminding me, this is like explaining. I know y'all heard me say this before, those of you that have listened to me before. But it's such a great analogy, they keep using it. It's like explaining airplanes to cavemen. When your entire body of knowledge and frame of reference is there is no machinery, and the only thing I see flying is like birds and insects. Like, how does someone tell you about an airplane that carries people through the sky? Like, if they told me people are being carried through the sky, my mind is gonna be like, who's carrying them? Is it like monsters? Is it aliens? Like, no, it's a machine. That feels scary. Like, well, first of all, if I'm a caveman, I don't even know what a machine is, right? That's a machine. Well, what's a machine? Okay, so there's metal and fire and power and liquid that starts a, you know, like it's just hard. So they're like, imagine rock. Because like, let's say cavemen didn't even have metal, right? Like, it's really hard for them to answer questions. Just know that. Just know that some of the questions, because they want to be, they're going to be honest with us. Your guides are not going to lie to you, ever. They're going to communicate honestly, but we gotta just let them help you. Just let them help and get to know them over time. The more you connect and the more that you let them drop in, just, I'm not gonna understand all of this. I'm gonna get this 5-second little blip where they show me some crazy shit I can't even try to explain to you. Like one time my guides congratulated me because they're like, oh, you're doing it. You're thinking in 7th dimensional consciousness. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because like in my mind, I was seeing green like shapes and things, and I felt like I was 5 different places at once. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, what do I do with that? But it was part of the framework of how I'm learning to communicate better and deeper and experience life as they experience life. And another book I really recommend is called The Betty Book. And then there's some books that come after the Betty Book that are written by this woman and her husband. The woman was a channel and connected with this group they called the Invisibles. And it's the most accurate depiction of what it's like to connect with some of these guides and what it's like to be a channel that I've ever found. And it's so crazy because this book was written in like the 1930s. It was published, but most people don't know about it. And so that's one I really recommend. A lot of times I've recommended it to a number of people and a lot of people are like, oh, that's like a little over my head, or it's written like a book in the 1930s. So the language is not as current. But it really spoke to me. And so I like to offer it as a resource for people. It really, really spoke to me. And again, this Ask Your Guides book. Are there any other questions out there? I think I've said about all I can say for now because we just went through a whole lot. I feel like it was a lot. My guides are like, yeah. It got real hot in here. I'm still drinking coffee though. And again, feel free to share your experiences too. We'll keep this post up. So if you want to come back later and share an experience, do that. But just really be open. Ask them to come through and they will. It's really that easy. Ask. Just keep inviting your guides to show up. And you'll get to know them. All right? Thank you so much. Thanks, Anna Marie. I love y'all. Have a great Friday. Yay! Mwah! Bye.